Trams on the street are pretty common, but it's not every day you see trains in the street. Let's take a ride on the short suburban line H7 in Budapest, Hungary. Budapest is a city with one of the largest varieties of transit modes and vehicles I visited while in Europe. While I didn't get to ride absolutely everything, I did get to ride this really interesting suburban line. And sometimes something you see when you travel just sticks around in your mind, because I've thought about the H7 on and off since I went on this trip. For whatever reason, it was just extremely memorable. I happened to be staying near one of the H7's Terminus stations, and I basically rode it because it looked interesting, and I'm glad I did get the chance to ride it.
Hello from Budapest. I'm at Boráros Tér, just kind of walking around the underground cavern that it is, getting Suburban Line H7, just because I saw it, looked interesting, and it's right here. So yeah, let's go ride a random suburban train. Just missed it. It's not really a problem, because these trains run every 10 minutes, so I'll just get the next one. Now I can do a station review. So, 2 platform station, pretty simple. An actual station building too. Huge bus station, tram stops, good intermodal connections. No metro here, funny enough. They do have departure information. First I was thinking this would be like the Rome-Viterbo in Rome, but no, it's a lot nicer. Next train is pulling in already.
The H7 runs from Boráros Tér, with extremely frequent tram connections available from here further into Budapest, south to Út-Csepel, with 6 stations total over about 6.6 kilometers, or 4.1 miles, and it doesn't even leave Budapest city limits. Unlike some other suburban lines in Budapest, the H7 does not have a connection to the metro. Frequencies on the H7 are really good for a suburban line running every 10 minutes most of the day, every day of the week, with up to 5 to 8 minute frequencies at peak weekday times. It runs from roughly 4:30 a.m. to just before midnight every day of the week, with some 20-minute headways creeping into the schedule at the very end of the day. Also, as a quick side note, sorry for any mispronunciations, I do not speak Hungarian.
Welcome on board. This is Suburban Railway Line H7 in the direction of Út-Csepel.
The trains I saw on the line were East German Lokomotivbau Elektrotechnische Werke Hans Beimler, or LEW MXA trains from between 1975 and 1983. The interior of the vehicles seems quite adequate, with bench-style seating, luggage racks, and nice openable windows. The doors are, shall we say, on par for Budapest. And interestingly, at least for this line, there are announcements in both Hungarian and English, which is really helpful. The first part of our trip takes us down our own right-of-way along the Danube River, where we get some neat views of boats and bridges. As the number 7 implies, the H7 is not the only such train route in Budapest, though the other routes are much longer and actually leave the city. There's also the H5, H6, H8, and H9. I'd guess they start at 5 because 4 is the highest metro line number, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Only lines H8 and H9 share a terminus. The other lines have their own terminus stations where you can make a transfer to more local transit to travel further into Budapest. The southern part of the H7 began passenger service in 1912 as the Út-Csepel HÉV, or HÉV-Járat, which translates to something like local railway, using an alignment that connected over to what is the modern-day line H6 in Pesterzsébet. The Út-Csepel line was redone in 1950, and the alignment that exists today opened in 1951, with passenger service rerouted down this new line. Passenger service down the other branch to the modern-day H6 reopened in 1959 due to popular demand, with a slightly different alignment extending to Határ and Gubacsy. But this whole branch closed again in 1978, leaving just the line that exists today. We reached the second station on the line, Mupa Nemzeti Színház, after which the tracks peel away from the river. And I'll take this time to mention the phenomenal sounds the motors on these trains make. We pass a pretty large stadium, and it's kind of surprising there isn't a station here. This spot is also under half a kilometer, or about a quarter of a mile, from the terminal station of the suburban line H6, so it could have been cool to make a walkable connection between these two train lines here. But alas, no station. Just this cool bridge where we cross into Út-Csepel. A little bit further down the line, we pass a connecting track to the rest of the mainline rail network, so this little suburban line isn't just an isolated system. Our next station is bkk.hu, which serves the nearby container port and the surrounding industrial area. Eventually, though, we end up traveling in the middle of a street, not unlike many of Budapest's tram lines. And while median-running trams are pretty common, it's not every day you get heavy rail down a street like this. So of course I had to get off the train at Története and check it out.
So I wasn't really expecting Ashland, Virginia style street running, but this was a pleasant surprise.
I realized that might be a pretty niche reference I just made to a train line I've traveled along numerous times in the US. Ashland is a small town near the city of Richmond, Virginia in the United States, and it sees a variety of passenger and freight trains, though not all trains stop in the town. The tracks in the street in Út-Csepel look quite similar to the railroad that cuts through Ashland, and I think it's neat that somewhere in Budapest reminded me of something a lot closer to home. If you've also somehow been to both of these places, let me know in the comments.
So I'm out here in what I'm assuming is pronounced something along the lines of Cepel or Cepel, not really sure. I don't speak Hungarian. I'm gonna get a quick lunch because I only have a few hours here. It took a while to get past like all the port dockyards and industrial stuff, but it is pretty dense back here. Not high-rise dense, but apartment buildings at least. They got a cute little train station adjacent mall thing. I don't know. Still looking for food, so hopefully we'll get something. I stumbled into a random Italian place at the train station, so it is really good. Would recommend. So, pasta Giuseppino, totally would recommend. Very good prices. Inside this like market hall, marked as like Corso or something like that. Again, I don't speak Hungarian, but yeah, was really good. And now I'm gonna go get on a train.
After watching some more trains go down the street, I walked to the end of the line at Út-Csepel station, which wasn't hard since the stops on this part of the line are really close together, like they would be on a tram line.
So I'm down here at the end of the line, and it looks like there's a yard, train storage facility, and then maybe a station building. Gotta wait to cross, and then this, I don't know if it's a water tower or what that is, but it's interesting. So they actually have a full station building here. You have ticket machines, departure information. This is leaving in 3 minutes. And yeah, might as well get a thumbnail shot since we're here. All right, I'm gonna board because it's like a couple minutes. Also, cool.
Okay, I zoomed off of it way too fast, but this is a really neat builder's plate. It's not every day you see one from a country that no longer exists, that being the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, perhaps better known as East Germany. The ride back has the same street running as before, just as interesting of course. We leave the street running behind and enter back into our own right-of-way. Facing the opposite side of the railway on my trip back to Boráros Tér gives me a much better view of the architecture along the part of the line that runs along the river. But the ride is over pretty quickly, as traveling from end to end on the H7 only takes 14 minutes.
Also, I think it has Wi-Fi somehow, but just barely. My phone only held it for about 2 seconds, and then I guess the signal's just too weak. Maybe Wi-Fi's only in the car marked Wi-Fi. I don't know. But we're back at Boráros Tér. Again, sorry for the pronunciation, but we're here. Yeah, there's the suburban train station. And here is the tram station. Very convenient.
The H7 is one of the most memorable transit lines I rode in Budapest. Maybe it's because of the street running that reminded me of somewhere closer to home, or maybe it's because the trains are just really cool, or maybe it's because any railway that quickly takes me to get good Italian food is a good railway. But looking towards greater implications, the H7 is actually not a bad model for other urban areas that want to expand rail transit without building underground rapid transit lines. Sure, most places would probably operate a line like this with light rail vehicles, but you know, heavy rail can work too, especially if it's on a line that goes a little further out from the city. It has its own right-of-way, doesn't get stuck in mixed traffic, and just glides along from one part of Budapest to another. Also, street running. It's pretty great here because trains and cars are separated except for crossings. Sure, it lowers speed, but when trains are stopping every few blocks like in Út-Csepel, it honestly seems pretty fine. If I'm ever back in the city, I'd love to explore some of the other suburban lines, because just looking on a map, they all look really cool. Choosing this line was just a matter of time and convenience, and the H7 happened to be short and nearby. But because Budapest has such a massive variety of transit, I regrettably missed riding the funicular, cog railway, and heritage vehicles. Not that some of Budapest's regular transit vehicles aren't already old, but I still crammed in a ton of transit on this trip, including a trolleybus, trams, the metro, buses, the chairlift, and of course this interesting little suburban line. So if you're ever in Budapest, consider checking out the H7. If you like this video, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the real thing. And as with every video, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and or subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your week.